Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about preliminary research, performing basic research prior to your first job interview. So, we're going to go over what preliminary research is. Really, this is a simple 2-3 minute exercise that you do prior to your job interviews so that you at least come prepared with a few talking points and really some important talking points. You want to appear or be perceived as well prepared. And so I want to give you ammo in terms of what to look for and why. So, why is preliminary research important? Look, I want you to avoid going too far with a toxic workplace or a weak product. I don't want you wasting your time. If you're listening to this video or looking to break into tech sales, you likely have a family, you likely have a lot going on, you're probably juggling a job. And so you're likely taking this course as an extracurricular, meaning you're doing it outside of your work hours and outside of your own day to day life. And so the importance of preliminary research is to not spend too much time, but also gather the important information that we need to gather so that we can make an educated decision and focus on the important stuff, such as applications, outreach, and actually, conducting successful interviews. And so the idea here is that, look, I want you to avoid landmines, but also if you find companies that don't meet our requirements, our vetting requirements, then we can determine if we want to use those interviews as practice interviews, which, as you may or may not know, this is going to come up in a later video if it hasn't already. I'm still determining how to order these videos, but I am 100% in support of practice interviews because they help you get into the groove. They help you uh, sharpen that iron, and they help you mitigate the rough spots that you have in your interviewing. Because if you haven't interviewed in a long time, chances are you're really rusty and you're shooting yourself in the foot without even knowing it. And so I 100% support practice interviews. And by doing quick preliminary research, we can determine whether or not we should really be truly excited about the job opportunity or if we should use it as practice rounds. And so that is why this is important. I also want you to have talking points for your interview. And so this research will prepare you. Lastly, the preliminary research also shifts your mindset into I'm betting my opportunity and not just taking whatever I can get. In other words, it shifts your mindset from beggar mindset into chooser mindset. Not all jobs are created equally. A job is not just a job. It's very easy to get stuck in a toxic dead end organization where you're being constantly micromanaged. And so I want you to start to approach this with a chooser mindset. Lastly, you make the most money and are happiest when you join a winning team. Your well being depends on this, your earning potential depends on this. So we must do our research. And luckily, it only takes a few minutes. We're going to go through this very quickly, and yet we're going to gather the most important information. And so, what should you look for when researching tech companies? Number one is a competitive product. This is one of the biggest tells. If we find a market leader, that's a great thing. And by the way, market leaders are not always the biggest companies either. And so if the product is great and it's dominant, it trickles down because if the product is strong, we know that the sales reps are likely selling a lot. And so that means everybody's making money. We also know that they have great leadership and innovation because if the product is differentiated and better than everything else out there, we know that there are some very smart people behind the wheel, and that impacts us as well. Being surrounded by smart people and working with smart people is going to rub off on us as well. And we're going to get to learn a lot. Chances are their marketing team is also on point. In other words, A strong market leader with a competitive product means everyone is winning. It benefits everybody. However, just because they're a market leader doesn't mean we stop investigating. We also want to be at a well respected workplace. And so a quick glance on Google will tell us everything we need to know. We just want to see that the overall vibe internally is good and it's healthy. And so we see high reviews on Glassdoor. We know that we're likely going to be treated well and supported, not just as professionals, but also as individuals. I want us to be taken care of here long term. And lastly, proof. I want us to take a look at their website and get a sense of their overall marketing and prowess. So, if we can spot a few significant case studies and testimonials from notable companies on their website, that is huge proof that they actually walk the talk. And it's not just positive reviews all throughout the internet, but they've actually got powerful case studies on their website. That is huge. That is great proof. And so we want to look through their website real quick to see if we can find any notable case studies and validate that they actually have real customers and they bring real results. We don't want to join a phony tech company that promises greatness and then they don't actually deliver on it. And so, through this understanding and through this research, we decided we want to take the opportunity in job interviews seriously or not. Practice interviews are 100% condoned and they help you sharpen your knife. And so, how do you find out this information? Luckily, we live in the age of the internet. It's super easy to find this, and we can find it within minutes. G2.com for product reviews is going to be your best friend. We want to see a 4.0 product rating and also dominant in the market space, which I'll show you how to look at that up in a separate video. Glassdoor.com, again, 4.0 star rating or above. Occasionally, I will personally let a 3.5 rating slide if I'm really excited about the opportunity. And so lastly, we want to also take a look at their websites. Every tech company has a case studies page on their website. And so we will be able to see what their customer base is like and the type of results that they bring for their clients. We know that if they can bring powerful results, that means people come back and buy. We also know that they get word of mouth marketing, meaning that if other customers are getting tons of success, that usually tends to attract other customers as well. And so the ratings and reviews may not be 100% accurate. Surprise, surprise. But we want to be on the lookout for clues and avoid a disaster as much as possible. And so if we can start to look at these preliminary clues today, then we know what to look out for during the job interview as well. And so what we're going to do is look for those clues, also recognize that it's not 100% accurate, but nonetheless the information and data points serve us, and we want to have as many data points as possible so that we make the best decision possible. Furthermore, and this is really important, it's going to become even more important through the job interview process, but every tech company is going to ask you the same set of questions. One of those questions is, why us? Why our company? And so this question is obviously designed to test your knowledge and your motivation for working there. But by doing this preliminary research, which again only takes 2-3 minutes, we'll have a few key talking points without spending much time researching. And so the good news here is you can pick anything on their website that you find genuinely intriguing. What matters here is simply having data points at all. You would be very surprised by how many people do the minimal amount of effort and they come into the interviews not knowing anything about the company or the role at all. I don't want that to be you. I want you to differentiate yourself by having done your homework, and I'll teach you how in a second. And so when this question comes up during the interview process, I want you to copy the following prompt word for word. It's already been proven to work. And you'll say something along the lines of, look, based on my research on G2, Glassdoor, and the case studies that I've seen on your website, this seems like a pretty intriguing opportunity. You're competitive and your employees have nice things to say. I also read the case study that about how you helped Amazon increase their number of orders by 5% using AI. I thought that was super cool. And so that's why we're here. I just want to explore this further. I'm not 100% sold on anything quite yet, but so far I like what I have to see. Boom. And really, this subcommunicates so many good things. It subcommunicates that, look, yes, I am excited to be here. Thank you. But I'm not sold quite yet. And that's why we're here. I'm exploring this further. I'm vetting out if this is the right opportunity for me. And and that's really what the whole point of interviews are about. You've read all these good things on the internet. It seems like an interesting opportunity. Let's chat with the team and see if really they can walk the talk. If let's see if they're as great as they say they are. And so the point of interviews is to explore further and vet further. And so I want to do a quick demo. This research should not take more than 5 minutes. We really just want enough information to decide if the company is a safe bet or not, and if we're going to use this as a practice interview, or if we're going to really, put our heart and investment into it and get excited about the opportunity. And again, you do this when you land the interview. Otherwise, don't waste your time doing the research. I want you to stay focused on the applications and outreach and hold off on this step until you land those initial interviews. And so I've already got the pages pulled up. These are really quick Google searches. So in this case, I'm looking up a company called Procore, and from there I pull them up on G2. And again, I'm really just looking for a 4.0 rating and above. I want to see that they have reviews at all. If a company doesn't have reviews or has a minimal amount of reviews, that tends to raise some red flags for me. I wonder, why are they rated so poorly? Or why don't they have that many reviews, right? If a company has a low amount of reviews, let's say just a handful, what that tells me is that they don't have a lot of customers, or they don't have a raving fan base. And so in this case, Procore passes the test. You can see that they've even won an award that says top 100 software products of 2023. And so that's huge. Okay, so they passed the product test. Now let's look at what Glassdoor has to say. So I already pulled them up. Basically, all you're doing on Glassdoor is researching the company and typing it into the search bar, and then it pops up. And so Glassdoor says that Procore has over 1,000 reviews. Let's see what those reviews look like. Boom. 4.4 rating, 95% approve of the CEO, 87% recommend it to a friend. That is great news. Again, that passes the test of 4.0 rating or above. At this point, there's so many different links that you can click here to determine whether or not this is the right fit for you. However, during the preliminary research stage, I really don't want you to spend that much time on it. We can come back later once we've passed through the first round with Procore. So, for example, if they've interviewed us, we passed the initial screening interview with the recruiter, which is the first round. Let's come back and invest more time, right? Because we're moving forward with them, we're progressing with them, so we want to double down on our research. But for the preliminary research stage, for this first round where we're just chatting, we're having that first initial conversation, I really just want us to grab enough information and move on, and then refocus back on applications and outreach. So while it might seem tempting to get in here and get into the nitty gritty of the reviews, I want you to hold off for now and then come back to it once you've passed through the other stages. But again, for now, they've passed the test on G2 and they've passed the test on Glassdoor. And in case it's not already obvious, the difference between G2 reviews and Glassdoor reviews is that G2 reviews are really just reviews about the product. So, how competitive the product is, how well liked the product is, and how popular the product itself is, because we need to be selling not just good software, but some of the best software, because that's where the earning potential, the promotions, the career pathing, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be with the top performers, the companies that are crushing it, not the companies that are just barely surviving. So let's go over to Procore's website because we have one last step, which is the case studies. We want to see case studies. So again, every software company has their case studies section. And so it's either up here at the top, you'll see the case studies. I don't see it. So it's either at the top or at the bottom. So we scroll down to the bottom. Let's look for case studies. Not seeing it. Am I seeing it or am I just missing it? Let's go to ROI. So they have ROI reports. That's not exactly what we're looking for. We are looking for case studies specifically. Okay, it's under the resources section. So we go to customer stories, case studies. And really, what we're looking for here are ideally, first of all, a lot of case studies. If we see a lot of case studies, we know that customers are happy enough to even do these with them because the customers themselves have to agree to these case studies. Procore can't just publish these uh, brands and their company names and put these company names on the line. They have to get permission. So I'm immediately, seeing a lot of good stuff here. They obviously have numerous case studies, and they have case studies with um, what to me appear like big brands. So, I mean, they've got the city of Memphis as a case study. They have Skanska, which Skanska is one of the largest construction firms in the entire world. And so, what you want to do from here is maybe just click on them, and what you're looking for is clear metrics and stats. Basically, we want to see that there is clear return on investment from the customer. So, in other words, they bought Procore and then they got immediate benefit from it. They got an undeniable benefit from it. That's really what we're looking for. And I mean, as you can see, these quotes are pretty impressive. And we can see some stats here. Um, with Procore, you can create a project. You can add everyone to the project. You have much more visibility. And so, these pass the tests. I'm confident that Procore would be a good fit if I was hypothetically interviewing with them. And so they passed the initial sniff test. And that really was quick. I just did a quick Google search on g2.com and then on glassdoor.com, and then I just went to their customer or their company website and case studies. And obviously, they've got tons of them. So I don't really need to dig deeper at this time. I just know that they are actually they seem like a great company. And so pass the sniff test. Let's do one more. In this case, I picked a company called User Testing. And so I go to g2.com and I pull them up. And again, they passed the initial sniff test. They have over 600 reviews, 4.5-star ratings, and as you can see, they were even a leader on the spring of 2023. So they won an award. That is phenomenal. And look at what I see here on the front page. Ranked number one by G2 Crowd in the user research, software testing, and consumer video feedback categories. User testing has been a trusted company by top brands for 15 years with over 3,400 customers worldwide. Boom, pass the initial sniff test. Let's see what we can find on Glassdoor. Working at user testing, pull it up. And let's see. Okay, user testing reviews. They've got 450 reviews. However, they've only got a 3.6, and only 68% approve of the CEO, and only 50% recommend it to a friend. So, this is one that, well, let's go look at their case studies actually. And so I'm looking for case studies, customer stories. Here we go. Okay. So looking at their case studies, first one of the first things I know is that they work with some interesting brands. So Athletic Greens, that is huge. Amazon, ADT, I see these all the time in people's homes. Adobe, and so that's really cool. Let's click into the Amazon case study just to see, what kind of return on investment they have for customers. And so right away, we see that they've got quotes from the director of selling at Amazon, the head of research at Amazon, and they even provide us with more customer success stories. They even have Home Depot. That's huge. And so I'm just clicking to see what these customers have to say. They have Burberry. Okay. So with user testing, it's interesting to see that they've got a, a good amount of case studies, obviously, from very notable brands. That's always great to see. Um, the concerning part here might be the fact that they have a 3.2 star rating on Glassdoor, and that only 50% of people would recommend this to a friend. So that's not a complete deal breaker. However, I would tread lightly, and throughout the interview process, I would see, what the overall vibe was like, how much I liked the team. I might, dig deeper in these reviews as we go along in the interview stage, but it's I would say this is a yellow flag. It's not completely a red flag, but it's not a green flag either. Obviously, if I was interviewing with user testing and Procore, let's hypothetically assume that I got to the offer stages with both of them. I would review these reviews a little bit more and research them a bit more and determine uh, which company I might go with. And so at this stage, in the preliminary research stage, it's too soon to tell, but it at least gives us the data point, and it at least gives us some sort of hypothesis that we can then start to um, test throughout the interviewing process. And so that's how you do preliminary research. Again, the whole idea here is that we want to avoid any glaring red flags. In this case, with both of these examples, they both seem like pretty healthy companies. User testing seems a little bit weird with these Glassdoor reviews. It would raise a few concerns, but it's nothing out of the ordinary and nothing that is glaring at this point. And so at this point, we're ready to progress into the interview stages. We've done some preliminary research. We know that they got case studies. We know that they got generally good, positive employee reviews. And we also know that they have really dominant products based on what we see on G2. And so at this point, we're ready for the initial interview. And this is how you conduct preliminary research. It should not take more than 5 minutes.